Hmm. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sunset Stitches. My name is Trevor Conquergood, and today is Digi-Talk, Floriani's Digi-Talk number 11. And I want to say thanks to Nick, my son Nicholas. He's over here helping me out in the studio today. Thanks, Nick. Hey, Marty from Northern Idaho. How's it going in Idaho today? And Cheryl, thank you, Cheryl. She says she's looking forward to today. So it's great to see you guys. Good morning. I guess good afternoon. Sorry, Joyce. How's it going in Mesa? It's great to see you guys. As always, it'll be a fun 1 hour presentation. So yeah, what's up with you guys? It's nice to have everybody drop by the studio. Nicholas and I have been busy working on different projects. What can I tell you guys? Were you here last week when we did? I love the way this turned out. Didn't this turn out great? Hey, good. Hi, Gloria. How's it going today? It's great to see you, Denise. It's nice to see everybody that's dropping in, and Lorene. Isn't the little text cute in this? Like, isn't that crazy how small it is and how easy you can read it? I mean, I hate to say you have to trim, right? For every word, there's a trim. So I come in and I come out of every word from exactly the same spot. So it's just one trim for, per word sort of thing. But yeah, it's nice to see everybody. Hi, Candy. How's it going there in Tulsa, Oklahoma? And Gloria, it says it's hot in New York. I bet it is. We have not had the heat out here in the West. I'll tell you, it's been cool and rainy in Saskatchewan, which is not normal for us. So yeah, it's great to see all you guys. So today's going to be a fun presentation. I did a couple of designs since last week. I think this one, we made together, right? Didn't I make this one like, what did it take me, 10 minutes or whatever? I did the little piglet blowing the little ones there. And then just later on in the week, I did the Winnie and the piglet shadow. But, no matter how long you've been doing stuff like this, and hey, I'm missing a stitch out now. The one that I want, of course, the one you always want isn't right where you want it. Did I leave it behind? Well, I have more to look through. I just thought it was kind of, oh no, here it is. I just put it on the back because I always stitch out my own work. And I love to watch the machine. A lot of times when I do these little Winnie the Pooh ones, I make little Facebook things that you guys can watch them and like them if you want to. So yeah. But when I stitched this one out, I felt like I had overstitched it. It was just, the details that were in the picture were kind of turning into solid. And with the Sketch-A-Stitch, really, it's not that I Sketch-A-Stitched as much as with the run stitch details, they don't scale real well. So yeah. Oh, hi, Lorna. How's it going? She's upstairs watching. So what I'm saying is I made it bigger. Sometimes the solution is just so simple, and it's my design, so I get to say what size it is, right? So I may have thought that I could do it at, just over 2 inches, but I think I zoomed in really close and just put in a little more lines than I probably should have. So I made it 3.5 inches, and now it's nice. So that's the kind of interesting thing about, and something to keep in mind if you're collecting these embroidery run stitch little designs. And this could be said of any run stitch design, whether it's one of my Winnie the Pooh ones or whether it's just one of your own little redwork, designs. They're made up of details. Do you know what I mean by that? They're not filled. I mean, they could be filled in, but the red color that you're looking at is run stitch, right? That's what it is. So Wanda says she almost missed me. Well, we just got started, so you're perfect timing. Glad you didn't miss me. Oh, you guys are so... I just want you all to know how much it means when you come and visit us at Sunset Stitches on our weekly Digi-Talk here. I'm trying to make a point, and that is when you have a run stitch design, if you resize it, it's not going to add more run stitches or take them away. It simply maintains the run stitch length, right? If it, if the original design had a 2.5 millimeter stitch length, then when you make it bigger, still going to be 2.5. But when you do details like shading in run stitches, if you make the design smaller, what happens is the run stitches get closer together. And if you make the design larger, they become farther apart. So keep that in mind. That is the most important thing to know. Could you take this little Winnie the Pooh and Piglet one that I made and do it 5 inches? Yeah. And it'd probably look even better, right? But if you did it 10 inches, maybe it starts to look a little sparse. It would totally work. You could take this little design. It's all one continuous run stitch. You could put this on a long arm quilt machine and do it 24 inches tall by however wide that would be, 36 inches wide or something. That one. And it's interesting when you do that, because I have done that in the past, not with Winnie the Pooh, but with my skylines, right? When I visit, a lot of times when I visit stores, like when I was in Cleveland last month and I did a really nice sketch of the Cleveland skyline. I didn't bring it to show you guys, but they stitched it on the long arm quilt machine and it became really big and it still looked really great, but it became a much more open, lighter, because the density, when, like I said, if it's all run stitch, then it won't add them or remove them. So the opposite could be true. Try and take my beautiful Cleveland skyline and then squish it down to fit on the front of a shirt. Maybe if you used 80 weight thread, you could get it to work, but it wasn't designed to be that small. And so we can learn a lot about resizing embroidery designs. And I think that's something that people want to know, is like, how far can you go? Because if I buy the Floriani software, doesn't it do it for me and all that? And yes, of course, Floriani software allows you to resize an embroidery design. But there are still kind of like conceptually limits. A satin stitch, that's when you fill in an area, but you only kind of go on the outer sides of it. There, the distance between the sides of the column, how fat is it? Is it when you have a border around a design, or maybe it's text, like look at the text and what happens. This is this week's font of the week. So if you don't know, we do a free font every Friday at Sunset Stitches, and it's free for the week. So this one is called Welcome to Earth. And the E is kind of funny. Somebody texted me or emailed me and said, every time I use it, the E is missing part. That's the font. It's got a few funny letters like that. They were also confused because it was all caps. And they were typing in Trevor and getting a T. So if you haven't learned those things, those are important things to understand about, the text tool, is that if I make a font that only has uppercase letters, then you need to type in Trevor with all caps, and then you'll get the Trevor, but it only has lowercase letters. And when we're on the software, I can show you, because there's a way to easily tell when you're using a font, if it's upper and lowercase, there'll be like ABC uppercase, and then it'll be ABC lowercase. It's sort of like a font image, as you're looking through your font, so you can see what it looks like. But if it doesn't have the lowercase ones and it's just ABC or ABCDE, but it's just all uppercase, that tells you that you need to type in uppercase to get it to work. But the point here is, the satin stitch of the letter, when I do, these little satin stitches, they can get only so fat before they're too fat, and they can only get so skinny before they're too skinny. And that's really the limits that, how do you make them bigger than that? Well, you do what I do, and you do a split, right? So then I can go bigger than the maximum by splitting it into two, and those are all things that you just check off boxes, right? To make those kind of choices. Well, this one resizes really easily, because see, even at a bigger size, it doesn't get too fat. So, but it will have it will get too skinny faster, because there's a minimum and there's a maximum. And that's only if you're talking about the satin stitch, because of course the run stitch would have different kind of minimums and maximums, and the pattern fill is a little different, because then you can fill in a whole area, and instead of going in a satin, you do a pattern fill. So now really bigger is no problem. And smaller is usually where I think most people run into problems. Is how small can you go before it's a little too small? The 1 millimeter is my minimum, really, and that's a thing that you can measure in the software and kind of learn about. So yeah. Marilyn says, I forget that the split button where it is. Well, I will be sure to show you, Marilyn, where the split button is, because I do it with my font. So if you sometimes not sometimes, every Friday, Nicholas and I go live on Facebook and YouTube to announce the new free font. And I often talk about how to split them. And sometimes I do a middle split like this. And sometimes I do, let me see if I can find one that has, here's one with a pattern fill. So instead of doing a middle split, I did a pattern fill for the larger letters. It's kind of hard to see that. It's just not quite bright enough. And there's sometimes I'll do a random split. So see how random split, kind of, it's not as much of a really, when I do the middle split, it's a very defined place where it splits. So random split kind of smooths it out a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll talk about that today. I'm going to, in just a moment, I'm going to open up the Floriani software and do some digitizing and show you guys the designs of the week. But I like to start out at the beginning and just interact with you guys a little bit, see who's all dropped by in the chat list. And so once I go live full screen, Nicholas will keep an eye on it in case there's any questions. And this really is Floriani Digi-Talk, and that means that I'm going to be using my Floriani software to digitize embroidery designs, and I'm happy to talk with you guys if you want to make the effort to come and hang with me live. And so if you have a question, please don't ever feel shy. Just let me know. I can't take everyone's questions, but I probably have time for 1 or 2 questions, each time I do something like this. So I thought I would start with a question because I got a great email just this morning, and I was like, you know what? I think we'll talk about this later today. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go on to bring up my, is my screen, am I not sharing my screen yet, Nick? Is that what's going on? Oh, I see. So I got to come over here and do it right. Present my screen. And then click share. And so now it's sharing, right? Yeah. Good. And so there's the designs that if you're collecting, if you're a member of my FTCU workshop, these are the 2 designs that you'll download for this week. There's been kind of like a little bit of I've been doing I've been doing a little bit of Winnie the Pooh kind of every week. This is the design I was talking about, and how when I made it originally, see, it's almost 4 inches now, but originally I made it and it was more like, just over 2 kind of thing. And, it looked great when I was looking at it really zoomed in like this, but when I stitched it out, I felt like, Piglet just looks like a blob, he is kind of just a blob anyway with the, and really that's not my fault. You kind of have to go back to what does the original drawing look like. I really did just follow the lines of the drawing, but making this a little bigger kind of allowed, the original drawing had some space between those lines and Piglet like that. And so I knew that I'd made it a little too small. If you want to take this one, now I've got it sized to like around 4 inches again. Here, let's change this to inches. You could, could you make it 6 inches? Sure, why not? I don't think it would look any much different really, at 6. So, once it's 4, I think 6, 8, what would that look like? Well, I think probably about the same. The main difference is you're going to just start to see more space between the lines, right? Where the run stitches went, they just start to get gaps in between them. And it still looks pretty darn good. So, that's kind of the interesting part about it is knowing that, could you do it 40 inches? Well, I guess if you could do it up to 24 tall. I know people that have, automated long arm embroidery equipment that's capable of doing a design that is up to 24 inches tall, right? Mine is here. Let's change this to inches. A height of just around 4 right now. Well, can you imagine it at 24? What would it look like? So I don't know, but that's 50 inches. So now I have to retract because I don't know anybody that has a 50-inch pantograph. Maybe I'm wrong. How they're 12 feet. That's more than 50. I take that back. Yes, they are. They're 144. Isn't that what it? I think that's the math there. They're up to 144 inches long. So if you had a 24-inch tall one and you wanted to ditch this design that I've made on it, you could. And that's what it would look like. It would totally do all the lines that I sketched. There'd just be a lot more space in between them. But still, I think I did enough to make it look, I don't know if anybody's going to do that on a long arm, but you could. What could you do the one from last week? And here's how you might find them. If I go on to my browser on the side to my library, because that's where when you download them, I made an asset file. And if you use the asset file, it'll put them in here. And I made an asset file for 1 to 10. Oh, here, look, where's 11? Oh, I know. I needed to restart because I made it, but I didn't. It doesn't know. Here's 10 anyway, just to show you last week's. So the question is, how big could you do last week's one, right? There's the original size. That's as I made it. Oops, that's Pooh's arm. Let's put that back, undo. It's this here, click off. I should be able to pick it up because it'll be all grouped together. Whenever you use the library to like drag in a design like I just did, it'll become a group. So I should be able to bring that and kind of put it over here. And so, that to me is like an 8x10 size right now. It's 9.5, 9.25 wide. So if you've got a 14-inch embroidery hoop, you could easily take this and take it from a width of 9 to a 14-inch embroidery hoop, and it'll just look better. It'll look great in that size. All those little tiny letters will just get a little bit less tiny. How's that? It's only going to get better from there, right? From where I started from. So now the little letters aren't quite as tiny. If you made this one really big, you might start to feel like the letters looked a little bit angular because of the way I did the letter O's and stuff. I didn't use curved points. I used kind of like straight points. And so if you made this bigger, the O is going to always have this kind of funny shape. And when you sew it at the super small size, you're just happy that it looks like an O. But at a bigger size, if you got, it'll look great at this size. So from 10 inches up to the 14 inches, I just mean if you try and take it from, this is currently a height of 10 inches. If you take it up to 24 and did it on the long arm, it's still going to look great, but it is going to have, the text will be a little bit kind of pointy looking. How's that? We'll see. It'll look just like it did before. It's just, you'll notice it more. So let's zoom in on it. So you'll notice what it did do when I made it bigger is it put points in between, right? Because it still has the stitch length. So, when this was little, this was literally like 1 point here and 1 point there and 1 point in the middle and 1 point here. But now it's putting extra points in the middle because we've made the lines large enough to do that. And you, of course, could set that length if you're like, well, I don't even want it 2.5. I want to go to my, run stitch properties and change that to be, perhaps a 3 or a 4, that would be possible. You could do that. So, but what you might not like, just since we're talking about long arming here, is the jumps. Because if you watch this one sew, and perhaps what I'll do is I'll just open a new window right now and bring it in kind of where it's the only thing on the screen. If you watch it sew out, it will do all of like the 100 Acre Woods, the border, the trees, and all those things are nicely connected, which is, I think, what most long armers want, right? But, I didn't want to connect the text. And so here's the thing, I don't know. I'm not saying it's not possible on a long arm. It's just know that after it gets to the end of, it's going to do the word house all in one line, starts right here. So across to the end and back again. And even if I made this bigger, it's still going to be that. So it's going to always jump from the house to the piglet to the word piglet, and so there'll be on a long arm, it'll want to trim the thread, is what I'm saying. So yeah. Okay. But if anybody wants to ask a question, that's fine. But I just wanted to start with one. So hold on. If you have any, Nick, hold on to them. You got one? Okay. If anybody wants to ask a question, don't be shy. But the one I came from Cheryl. And she sent me a photograph, and she said she was with Linda, and they were, working on learning, stuff. And they were learning about quilting stitches. And then it was like, why does mine not turn out like hers? And could you kind of explain it? So she sent me her design, right? This is the eyeball for Cheryl. So I think this is the one that maybe Linda made. And it's if I select it, it's a run stitch, and then it's a motif. So it's an applique. And the motif is using a motif pattern that I created called APQ002. So it's an E stitch. See that? It has like a tall one and a small one, and a tall one and a small one. And so it's a repeatable pattern, tall one, small one. That's kind of how it goes. And but when Cheryl made hers, it looked all like wonky. Maybe that's like a cool thing. That's like the new spirograph version, right? We were playing with spirograph in workshop 4, weren't we? That was last month, because this month is the fireworks challenge, by the way. Linda and Cheryl, are you guys working on firework designs? Because that is the current challenge. If you're in FTCU workshop number 4, if you're a member, we're working on the fireworks challenge here. Will you bring me big, Nick? I want to show them my fireworks. The big.
Oh, sorry.
You're all right. It was kind of fun. And I think I did a firework. I was working on fireworks in a little bit during the live presentation last week. So it's kind of fun to do your own firework style designs. And hopefully everybody's doing something for, I've received a couple already. I always love getting them. It's exciting to get email when it's not junk mail and it's actually from somebody with a design to look at, right? So, okay. So anyway, Linda says it's the same WAF created on Cheryl's laptop. Perfect. I will explain why they're different, and I'll explain why Cheryl's looks so goofy. So bring me big again, Nick. But I just wanted to say, for everyone that's doing workshop 4, don't forget about the fireworks challenge. Now, so really what we're talking about is a motif. It's a motif that I created. And it's actually a motif that includes a short stitch and a long stitch. And you can really see it in the one that Cheryl made, because so it's not the run stitch, it's the motif, right? And the quick answer to why they look different is the size, because this one is 0.64 of an inch. And the other one here, if I select it, is more like 1.3 inches. So seriously, if you just go back to this one here and you make this one be the same width of 1.3 inches and you click apply, it probably looks about the same. So it is the same technology and it does work the same. But what's happening is in the small one, it's showing up that there's a pattern that goes, short one, move over, long one. And then I think move over is what it goes. So it actually goes from like here over to here is the pattern. So it's short one, move over, long one, move over. It's actually short up, short down, medium step to the right, longer up, longer down, medium step to the right. And so that pattern has been created and it'll repeat, but it'll struggle to go around a shape that has tight curves. And so in the one that the test one, if you're going to go back to the original size here, let's just put them side by side. So if I copy that and then I shrink it, and you'll start to see it at a certain size, it'll go off the kind of rails like that. Yeah, I don't know. Cheryl, how big? See, now I'm even smaller than hers was 0.63 or something, right? Like 0.61. So I'm not quite sure how exactly you got yours to look like that even. Because now that I'm doing it with mine, so maybe there's more to this. And I guess what I would say to you, Linda and Cheryl, would be, what happens when you just resize hers? Like, excuse me, you guys. Excuse me. If I say open and I open up, here, I've already got it open. I'm going to close it so that I don't save anything and I can open it again. There's no doubt that when I open this up, there's something a little bit odd about the way that motif is aligning on here. And I automatically went to a bigger size, but I wonder what would happen if I just go a micro bit bigger. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that kind of weird? It's not going away. Okay, there must be something else in the settings I'm missing. I don't know. That's just weird. If we take, how did I change it? I just changed its size in here instead of here. Because there, it doesn't seem to matter if I make it bigger or smaller. It's not getting better. It's got that definite step to it. Let me look at the points. I mean, is there any difference in the points in the two shapes that you girls made? Is it the same shape? Are they talking to me, Nick, right now? You're watching the comments, right? Because I know Linda and Cheryl are here.
Just said love the fireworks. And
oh, thanks. Okay, well, that's fine. Yeah, no, I get it. Okay.
Linda
well,
said her FTCU is possessed.
Her FTCU is possessed. Well, it came to me possessed, right? I mean, I can't explain it kind of thing, but I was able to correct it by resizing it here. Is that not what I did? So if I come in here and I tell it to make it a height of 1 inch, fixed it. So does that fix it for you? I can't explain how you got it that way in the first place. I don't, but that said, when I resize, if I undo, back to where it's weird, if I just resize it like this, it doesn't seem to fix it. But if I changed it here to a different size,
Candy says
it did.
Did one do a circle shape and the other draw it out? We don't. I think Cheryl was trying to say we don't.
Well, I think they're actually the same shape, like in the file, the test eyeball. If I go to the one that came eyeball 4, Cheryl. Oh no, yeah. So that is definitely what's different about it. You're right. Thank you, Candy Hatch. If I just go to artwork for this for a minute, and then go to shape tool, you can see that this is a very smooth shape. And you're right. That is one thing that's technically different about them here. But the other thing that was, so what this one has a lot of points that are, a series of what you might call, smaller points versus one long, having one point with longer tangents is really what you do. Because if I start deleting points, it'll end up looking kind of odd. It starts to flatten out, right? I can't just delete all the points. But if I delete, I didn't want it to do that. Did that come up for you too, or just me? My screen, yeah, just look, it made my screen go in half. Weird. Okay, that's something to do with the way I run my computer. Anyway, sorry. But what I'm saying is, if you just have less points, then what it has to have is longer tangents to be able to get it to have smoother lines.
She opened her file in my software, but she didn't create it. But I opened her file in my software. I didn't create it.
Okay, well, that's fine. I mean, I think Candy helped me understand a part of what was I seeing that was different is so I still can't fully explain what happened. I'm sorry. I thought I had because if I close this once again and I just opened the file that Cheryl made, that was kind of strange. I was like right away, that is strange. But then I thought, well, it's quite small. It's less than an inch. And the motif's kind of large. So maybe that's all this is about. And so I started to instantly, I went to changing the size, so I just came in here and made it, the same size as the one that Linda had made. And it seemed to correct it. But then when I came back and I should say, maybe I need to restart my computer, because sometimes when you have something that's like a little bit kind of confused, if you just restart, it cleans, it seems to magically just not happen anymore. So, I would normally like restart my Floriani at this point, but I thought it was really weird that I could resize it like this and that didn't correct it. But if I used the handle and made it even like the same exact size, it did. So I don't know. That is something that I will put onto my list to follow up on. Why does that happen? Because that's kind of weird. But one way or another, I don't think normally when people get, because that APQ002, you can download that for free from my website. If you're a member, you can get it from, let me bring up this, sorry. If you're a member, then you can also get it, because I've put it in several of my classes, but it was, a free thing that I did we called it embroidery recipe box. So whenever we do fun things like this, how to do something, we usually put it on the website as an embroidery recipe box. And it's right here, applique stitches, and if you visit that page, you can download those, there's 7 different applique, stitches that you can download, and a little video that you could watch about, I guess. Well, I don't remember what I said anymore. It was a while ago, but it's about applique stitches. So, okay. I don't even know if I was able to answer your question, you guys, other than that was kind of weird. And I guess the easy way to fix it is to change the size with the size tool and not with your handles, and maybe if you ever do it again and you can tell me how to recreate getting it weird, because it seems like once it's corrected, now I can resize it with the handles. And it acts quite normally. And even, regardless of the way the points were made, right? Because this is the original point. So it wasn't caused by the original points. It was an observation that Candy noticed that, the one that Linda made was made by, probably made using the rectangle, the ellipse tool. Because if you make it with the ellipse tool, then the software kind of just puts in the minimum number of nodes. But if you had added like a bunch along one side and not another side, would you notice it? Well, probably not. Let's see. Let's make it a motif, and then let's use that little one, that APQ2 or whatever it was. That one. You have to set the size, because it comes in like massive, and so you have to set the size to be like 3 or 4 kind of thing. And sometimes when you use these, they're facing the wrong way. It looks more like a nice little eyeball or something, but you hit the reverse direction tool and then it's going the right way. And so notice that you don't really see, where one side is better than the other, unless those points are, so first of all, if I select all those internal points and convert them to be what's called a line, so that would mean that they have no kind of corner-ish to them. And then if you got them like kind of going, a little bit this way and that, like that might kind of make my motif look a little wacky, right? Because even though you might have thought it was a pretty straight line, it's trying to follow the line with the pattern, with the little, so it makes them stick different directions. So yeah, can you, if you have a bit of you can select all those points and right click and tell it to smooth them. And then you can try and put them, better in a line so that they take on kind of a smoother shape. And then the stitches seem to smooth back out, is kind of the point. So yeah. What was the other thing we were going to talk about was the splits, right? That was something that came up in the initial kind of conversation, was like, if I make something that's embroidery, satin stitch, so I convert it to a satin fill that's going up and down, like perpendicular like that. If you look at it, the software will try to split it automatically. You can see that it has a split. If I make it smaller, it won't split it as much. Now the angle, it always does that. When I resize the shape, the angles kind of get funny. But so notice that as I'm in a smaller size like this, so it depends on how long this becomes. It's a 1/4 of an inch. If I go to metric, that'll probably be, 6 kind of thing. 6 millimeters across. Well, as you get these bigger, and so somewhere between sort of 6 and 8 splits it. And now the split, how does that happen? Well, it's in your properties box. You can take control of it. The first tab, the purple star, that's your type of embroidery. It says the satin. It's a standard. It's a satin fill. Sorry, see, it says right here, satin. It's got a density of 0.5, but you could change that. You could come from satin and make it a patterned fill if you wanted to flatten it out, or use a texture like snakeskin or thatch basket or zigzag. But primarily there's like pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which are different kind of smooth patterns. It's also a couple of cornrow, kind of like, almost like bricks kind of thing. And so really what we're talking about is the way the needle stitched down as it goes back and forth across the shape. Where do the needles step down is what makes the pattern. So when it's a fill, the needle points make a pattern. When it's a satin, then the needle points are only the outer edges unless it's too long. And that's where, so it's not, along the top, there's a lot of tabs. It's the one that looks like black lines with black dots on them. Sometimes I say it looks like sheet music, but it's called the splits. And if you click on that, you can see that this has by default a random split at 7 millimeters. And if you make it wider than 7, so probably right about there, it splits it. And if you make it less than 7, doesn't split it. If this shape is not straight, it's curved. Okay, now the split's going to happen at different times. See, it's going to split as soon as it reaches 7 until the next time it's less than 7. So you can take control of how much it splits with the tab that says splits. It says random split at 7, but if I say random split at 5, I can get to go all the way across. Or if I do random split at 8 or 9, I'll get less of it, but just where I need it. So I did it at 8, I'm not getting any. But if I make it just a little bit bigger, I get a little bit. So I get it as soon as this distance from here to here is longer than 8. See, and I can get a little less and a little less. So if you're like, well, if it's good, now I've got just a little tiny bit of it in the middle. If you're like, if I'm going to have it, I want to have it, well, then you come to the distance and you go, okay, well, if 8 doesn't get it all, does 6 get it all? And then, 6 got from there to there, what would 5 give me? And then the whole thing, or most of it, and you're like, I think I like it. So, yeah. And another way of splitting it instead of the random would be to do middle split, absolute split, percentage split, or random split. So they're all different choices. If I go with a middle split, same thing. I get to decide the minimum and the maximum sort of stitch lengths, but instead of a random pattern, I get a clear like sort of divide, which is a lot of times with the fonts. I like that, it's you click on text and you start, doing some text, but you want to get it bigger than where it's going to look good, because that's like welcome to Earth at, just under 1 inch. But if you make it like, a full 2 inches tall, which would be 50 mils, it's going to be warning me that there's satin stitches that are too long. And there's literally parts of the letters that are like missing. They're not actually missing, but the software is kind of showing me that they're missing because they're going to get trimmed out. They're too long. They break the rules. But you could easily select this and come into your properties box, turn on a middle split and click apply, and it makes a whole new look to the letters and it brings back the missing parts. So there. I don't know if I really answered Linda's and Cheryl's question. Did I? Oh, do you have a question, Nick? Go ahead.
Can you show the tool that changes the applique stitch from facing in and facing
out? Oh,
out?
sure. Yeah. Leah says, can I show how to change the in to out on the, it's the motif that it's not the applique stitch. It's the motif stitch, right? So we've used the motif, which starts out with like this one, and you can make it any motif you want by just clicking and changing the motif. And here, if I click reverse direction, it doesn't really look like it changed, but it actually goes the entire opposite way. Here, let me select this and copy it and do a brand new window for it and paste it in. So if you watch this stitch out, you can see how it goes. So it's going from the top to the left and around to the right and back up to the top. Well, if I select it and I do reverse direction, so notice now that it'll sew from the top down the right to the bottom and up the left to the top again. So it doesn't just reverse the pattern, it reverses the direction of the stitching. And you can, but if you're doing an applique pattern or anything that's single-sided, because most of these you don't notice when I change the direction other than the way it sews. So if that's your intention, is to just make it go the opposite way, like maybe you made a line and you want it to go, imagine that I made a line that goes left to right, and then I made another line that goes, right to left, and I want to make the pattern go one way and then copy it, reverse direction, copy it. You can do that too with your motif. So here, let's make it a motif and make it a motif. And so notice that from motif 1, and then it does motif 2, kind of like going the opposite way. Well, if you wanted them to go, so if I wanted, for example, this one to go the opposite way, I could select it and reverse, and now it would have to get to the end and jump here. And so now it's going to sew them both the same way, is what it is. So you can, left to right, back to left to right again. But if you're like, well, that's stupid, it was better before, then you can select it and bring it back again. So yeah, reverse direction. And then if this is a pattern like our applique patterns that have like a side to them, then it'll change which way that goes. So if I do this and it's going, down and you want it to go up, you can reverse the direction and totally goes the other way. If I, get on like the, this one here. So here, let's select this one, and then I'll right click and say copy settings. And then I'll select this one and I'll say right click, paste settings. So notice how it has the motif facing the outside way. If I click on it and click the reverse direction, it now ends up facing the inside way. So that's the main thing I think that people want to know, is how to get those, edges to go the way that they want them to go. So good questions. Yeah, thanks a lot, you guys, for dropping by today. As always, it's great to see everyone. I'll just check in myself, come back in and see what kind of chit chat's going on in the box. Yeah, Donna says the icon shows up when I am digitizing. I release and there's a small icon of a needle and thread. Oh, I think that means you turned on, it's under the view commands. It kind of represents where the trims will happen. And it's a view. You can, if I go big, so would you make it big again, Nick? It's under view and it's commands. And then if there would be any, so let's see here. If I come in here and tell it to have a trim, then we should get a little scissor. Is that what you mean? The little icon of the scissor? Is that what you're referring to, Lee? What was the question again exactly? Icon of a needle and thread. Is that the same? Is it just another? When does the needle and let me think about that one, Lee. Needle and thread view. Entry and exit points? No. These are called your view settings, and there are certain things you can turn on and off. I'm trying to remember when the needle, where do we see a needle and thread? What I turned on was called commands. Now I wonder if it's a different command, and because it's not something I am intimately able to answer. I'd have to do some research. But let's see if I do stop. Then I get a stop sign. That's kind of cool. A lot of these have to do with multi-head embroidery equipment, and if you don't have one, you probably don't use them. Is one of them. Frame out, apply, and I didn't see where it framed out to, so I don't really know if I even fully know how to apply that properly. But this might be something that I should, dig into a little more and try and follow up on and learn more about. Jump, apply.
Donna said no needle and thread could be a setting.
What did Donna say?
No needle and thread could be a setting. Not sure.
I just think you need to send me a picture of the icon, Lee. Like if you see it on your screen, take a snapshot and let me see. Because I can't answer what you're seeing because I don't know what you're seeing. And I can't. Donna's probably referring to what I'm trying to answer, though, Nicholas, which is the settings of why no needle and thread could be a setting. I'll look in the settings. She said she sees an icon of needles and thread, but I don't know what that means. I'm trying to remember of why it would come on. I've seen it before too. I just can't recall. I'm drawing a blank is all, I don't remember. View. I don't know. It's a good question. I wish I could give you a quick answer, but you're going to have to go the long way and send me an email with a picture, and I'll come next week with the answer. How's that to the thing? I'm always happy to do that. And I'm always happy for people to come in and ask questions live, but I don't know. You're saying you're getting an icon of a needle and thread. Describe it more. Like, where is the icon, Lee? Is it over? Can you see how I made the icon of the scissors show up by coming into view and turning on commands? I feel like I've seen it too, and I just can't recall when. Like, is it because it's a different kind of embroidery element, like a needle and thread? Yeah, like if I bring in a PES file, would that be any different? That has presumably. So if I go view and I turn on the commands, that's the needle and thread you're talking about, right? Yeah, that's it. It's the commands. I think those represent the. Let's see. When do I get the first one? This is all connected. There, it's the end of the color. It's a color change. It's the command for color change is what it is. Well, yeah, because notice I got the command there. It does this little pink bulb, and then it jumps down to the next one and does the next little pink bulb, and then I get another one. That's another color change because now we're into the next color. So what they are, sorry, I couldn't like just know it intimately. I had to think it through a little bit, but they are representing the color changes, and they're just showing you where the needle is at the time, and you can turn them off. Just go under view and go to commands and uncheck it. I knew I had the right answer, but so commands will show you other things like stop codes and trims if you put in thread trims too. So I forgot about color changes. It was color changes. So that's what the answer was. And I don't know that you can turn them on and off in settings, but maybe you can. It's under your view drop down menu for sure anyway. Commands. It's also apparently Alt I, on your keyboard. So if you want to use the hotkeys, it should work with Alt and the letter I. Yeah, let me see if I can do mine. Because I'm on a Mac. Oh, yeah, there you go. I can do, Alt I. Sure it is. There you go. I learned a new hotkey today. Thanks, Lee. Guys, see, we all learn together, and that's what's fun about Digi-Talk. Friday, Free Font Friday. We're going to be continuing on with Free Font Friday. However, we will not be going live on Fridays for the summer. And so I will be live once per week with Digi-Talk, but not live with Free Font Friday. We'll still post a free font every Friday, and presumably some sort of a little, Facebook post or something. But we won't be doing a live video presentation for it. So that said, we might do more Free Font Fridays but we're going to continue on with the Digi-Talks. And so if you guys want to, just keep in touch with me every week. Your Wednesday will be my day. That's what I'm trying to say. So no more Fridays, but we might bring back Friday in the fall. But we'll see, because Friday will be a travel day. Because of my new event that I'm working on, I'll have more events than I have the last little while, and so I'm not sure that Friday is going to work out anyway. I might do some. How's that? But what I am interested in doing is more embroidery recipe box segments, and so what that means is, more embroidery neutral and more general, just all about embroidery and not specifically software. And so we'll do some more embroidery recipe boxes in the future, you guys. Did you guys notice my Stitch-a-Tie shirt today? I was wearing I don't know, because it's black on black embroidery. I'm sure you can't see that, but it says Stitch-a-Ties. There you go. Pretty cool, hey? Because, before I was Trevor from Sunset Stitches, and before I was ever Trevor with Floriani, I was Trevor from Stitch-a-Ties, right? And so my mom and my dad have a company, and I spent 25 years managing the design team. We did over 100,000 embroidery designs. The vast majority of those were somebody's corporate logo, and we did some pretty cool logos. Linda said, cool font. I thank you. It's the Stitch-a-Ties does have a really cool logo. Here you can see it much better in the yellow with the blue. And we had to have deluxe embroidery for the Stitch-a-Ties embroidery design service, right? It's filled in. It's got a satin stitch border. It's got a run stitch on the inside and the outside of the border. It's kind of inspired by the Rolling Stone magazine kind of font. It's got a shadow on the bottom. Stitch-a-Ties, you guys. Nick and I were out there last week. Oh my God, my dad's like, could you guys help me get I need a box, He's got mom and dad retired, and all the stuff that we ever made at Stitch-a-Ties is in a big sea can. Dad says to me, could we come out and get him a box? It's supposed to be right at the front. I told the guy that I'll pack the sea can up with all the boxes. I wanted these ones right at the front. But we get out there and they're not at the front. No, they're the opposite of the front. They're in the middle, maybe closer to the back. And we had to move all the file folders. The boxes. I could have. All I wanted to do was stop and open up the boxes and look inside, because every one of those boxes, and there's over 300 boxes, full of all like big heavy boxes with pop tops off and handles of all the file folders, because every one of our embroidery designs was, when the artwork, the notes, the draft, the stitch outs went in a file folder. And it used to look like a doctor's office, in my where I worked, because we had so many file folders. And with our big lateral filing system and rolling lateral file system, well, nowadays it lives in boxes, and me and Nick moved them. The whole thing, I should say, Nick did the most of it. He's a lot stronger than I am.
I just tried to take the weight off of you. That's all I tried.
He's just trying to take the weight off his dad, trying to be nice to me. Anyway, the dogs, the whole shirt was from when I worked at Digi-Talk, and the dogs are some of our earliest designs. There's lots of beautiful Celtic work in the collections that we made. When we did 100,000 designs, we ended up making around 12,000 stock designs. And this book that my dad was looking for it's our first collections. It's our very first 34 embroidery design collections. They all had somewhere between 80 designs and 100 designs. And so it works out to be about 2,800 embroidery designs. And if you scroll through here, there's a collection in here that's got Celtic stuff. And here, let me look for the Celtic stuff. It was here. And so there's the dogs right there. That's what's on my shirt right there. Those Celtic dogs, or it says Celtic Animal 1 and a Celtic Animal 3. But this one makes like a circle, so it's like a quarter of a circle. Yeah. You guys can get one of these if you want. They're collectible. I thought that my dad was almost out, but I was wrong. Yeah, no, he's not going to be out anytime soon. If he runs out, he will be really thrilled, because he has boxes of them. So that said, if you want to get one, they are $149, which is probably less than it cost him to print the book. He's not really, this is kind of like best chance to ever buy a product, because it says on the top here, the retail value is $3,300 or something like that. And keep in mind that each one of these designs was originally kind of on our website for $10 a piece, right? So it's a really beautiful collection, Stars and Stripes, alphabet, the whole bit. Anyhow, if you want to know more about it, I'll put the link in a comment. I think I can. Let me see here. I have if you bring up my website, bring me up big again, Nick. It's on my website, because the Digi-Talk website needed some repair, which I've been helping to get fixed up. But yeah, so it's like a page, this is where you could get it. You can meet my mom and my dad and learn a little bit more about it, but you'll be dealing with my dad. It's George from out there, and they live in a big, beautiful church out there in Harris. Anyhow, you can kind of learn more about what all the collections are and all that. So if you want, here, I'll just copy this page, and then I will put it into the comments section right here in case you guys want to check it out. But if you do, just know that my mom and my dad appreciate every order that they get, because they are literally retired now, and my dad's like wondering why he kept all that stuff. But of all the things he's got, I think the color catalog's really unique, because it's nice to have lots of designs, and we all have lots of designs, but having a beautiful book to let your friends look through. The one thing I'll say about these, you'll find a lot of interesting designs, not just flowers, because there's a section here with farm animals, cars, trucks, logging trucks, sports. It's got a good variety to it. It's not all of the Digi-Talk designs. We did some of our nicest stuff after this. I will say it's not, this isn't the Mother Goose collection or the Night Before Christmas collection, but I'll talk about those ones another day. And maybe help my dad to resurrect more of the stuff. But Yeah. So all that said, I'm super excited because I have quite a bit of news about events coming up this fall, and I'm talking to more people like every day. So if you're hoping I'm coming your way, maybe talk to your sewing store and let them know that Trevor's got a new event, and it would be cool if it was coming to our store, because there, of course, there's only one of me and only so many stores I can get to. But I do have a goal, to go out at least once a month next year and kind of a maximum of twice. So I can tell you that I'm going to be in San Marcos, California in September. And I will be in Crestview, Florida, also in September. And I will be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota in October. So that's for Fonder Sewing. And in September, I'm going to be at Ruthie's in Crestview, Florida. And I'm going to be at Sewing Machines Plus in San Marcos. And in November, I'm going to be with More Sewing in the Orange County and Southern California area, traveling to 4 stores there. What more can I tell you? There are more things developing, but I don't know the details in my brain. So I will be putting them on the, if you're not sure, like whether I'm live or when I'm live, when you go on our website, would you bring me back up again, Nick? If you visit sunsetstitches.com and you go to the top menu, there's a place that says dates and times. And I will be posting in here the events that I'm planning to do in the fall. They'll be on this page, and I will keep you up to date on any live presentations that I'm doing. So you may not see the Free Font Friday, but any embroidery recipe box will show up here, and our Digi-Talks, of course, will show up here. So check out the dates and times page if you're wondering where I am. And if you're a member of Workshop 4, just know that when you go on to the Workshop 4, you've got your links to the live classes. So this is how you can always get into the next live class. Of course, you'll have to log in to be able to get to that page. But if I can answer my skill testing questions, I can get in, and then you can visit the Workshop 4 links to live classes pages, and that's how you get your links to attend the live classes. And then, of course, when the classes are over, you're going to go to the member download page, and you're going to start downloading all of the past classes. Yeah, there's lots of past classes. They're great classes. We started Workshop 4. These are all the past classes, that I'm showing you now. That's 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So class 1 and 1A, and 2 and 2A, and et cetera, et cetera. And so it's quite a bit. And then, of course, that gives you access to the Digi-Talk, downloads, all the, what am I trying to say? The archive of the Digi-Talks, as well as the archive of the fonts, so the free font every week, there's a font archive. You can just come here and click there to download, font 1 to 20 all at one time. So it's pretty quick and easy to do. Whew. Okay, Nick, I think that is everything I have for today. Did I answer everybody's questions? Denise said she ordered the collection. Thank you, Denise. I can't wait to get it. That font will be fun to play with. Yeah, the Stars and Stripes alphabet, especially. There's actually several fonts in there that you're going to get. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to ask me, Denise. I know that my dad will email you the designs if you want PES format, or if you need a different format, just let him know, because I gave him a few formats, but he's kind of set up to send you a link to download them if you want to. While you're waiting for your book to come, you can start to enjoy them. Is what I put them all in my library. So now when I'm in my Floriani software, I can easily find them, and I can browse through them all. If you want, next week we can browse through them, and I can show you some of the cool stuff, like the dogs and what you can do with it. We can ask me questions about how you do all that. So, okay. So that's all my news. And thank you very much to everybody that attended live today. It was great to see all you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week. We will be live on Friday for Free Font Friday this week. But that will be the last Free Font Friday for the summer. Like I said, we may plan some kind of special embroidery recipe box segments in kind of place of it. But there will still be a free font every Friday, just not Trevor and Nick live at lunchtime on Fridays. So the real truth is, I just want to get out to the lake a little bit early on Fridays if I can, because it's summertime and we often go out, to get out of the city in the summertime on the weekends. And so that's the real reason why for me. But the fonts will still continue. We'll put out a font every Friday, you guys, and we can't wait till this Friday. So maybe you'll see you on Free Font Friday for the last one for now. And until then, you guys have a great day, and bye for now.